of gameplay. And so it was mostly just Arden, Lyra, and Catherine were the top 3. And if you didn't get one of those top 3, then you felt like you were a little bit weaker. That's no longer the case anymore, but it's still Arden being very heavily prioritized. Again, those double gauntlets, when they come out, can just have such an impact on the game.
Saw going to be taken off the table here by SK Gaming. And G2, Hundor, in the interview earlier, said that they still had something up their sleeves. They've been playing pretty meta so far. I'm excited to see if there's anything magical they're going to pull out.
This is time to pull it out. When you're down 1 game in the finals, this is when you would pull out something special. So we'll have to see if that does come through. Maybe Saw was that special pick, and SK had it scouted out. Who knows what the case will be. We'll have to wait and see if they are going to go for anything over there. But with the Kroll banned away, it's kind of pinching a little bit onto what Tyrus has been playing.
I was just going to say.
At least to the highest level of effect. They are going to grab the Alpha.
Yeah, it's very smart to pick up the jungler here. I talked about it a couple of games ago in the draft. It's smart to pick up the jungler so that you save your carry for the last pick, so that if this Blackfeather becomes a weapon power Blackfeather in lane, you can still pick up the Rona against it and just dominate it.
For 64% win rate almost as well. Alpha's so strong on this update, and definitely something SK are more than happy to grab and lock on down here. It's also something that, you know, goes fairly well into Blackfeather. It can meet him toe-to-toe in those duels.
Yeah, it's definitely can have its strengths, and again, it allows you to be a little bit more flexible, allows you to wait and see what your opponents are going to pick up for their composition when you do take it on the B side in one of your first 2 picks. So G2 now, again, if they're going to have a pocket pick come out, this is when to do it. Otherwise, you may not have another chance to do so this week. You may not get another chance to get yourself into that Worlds qualification spot. So Grace coming out, that's definitely not the pocket pick, but it goes very, very well with the Blackfeather.
One thing about the pocket picks as well is, even if G2 does have a strange strategy that they have up their sleeves, you can't always play that strategy. Maybe it's bad into Arden or bad into Alpha, for example, so maybe there's something that they can't really go with. Batiste will be the final pickup that's going to go over to Dark Potato.
Yeah, it is the final pickup, and with the Grace, I mean, they were thinking very hard for a very long time there whether they need to fear the Sirona pick that could come out from SK. With the Batiste, you have a little bit of safety, because if it is going to be the Rona with the Fearsome Shades and the Holy Novas from Grace, so you could counterplay it in a sense a little bit, locking it up whenever she red miss, but it is going to be the Rona. SK's composition is so strong.
It's a very, very strong composition, but with the Batiste, like you were mentioning, you can kind of counterplay the Rona. You can also do the same thing to the Alpha. You know, once she uses that Termination Protocol, if you save a Fearsome Shade or a ordained for that ability, you put it onto the Alpha and you can prevent that massive burst of damage from coming through. It's a very difficult matchup for the side of G2 because of just how much AoE team fight damage is there, but it is something that could be manageable.
All right, so are we favoring this brawler composition out of SK coming into this game then?
I would still give it to G2 just because they do have the Rona last pick there to play against all the triple melee. However, the Batiste can do quite a bit. Sorry to say there, I meant SK on the side. Like you said, I would say SK have the better composition, especially with Arden. The double gauntlets with the Echo could be huge.
All right, we'll see if that's going to be the case. The double gauntlets could be massive. It's time to find out. Hashtag Vainglory. Let us know whether you want this one to push to a 3-game series or if you think SK have got this in the bag. It's time to pass it back over to Medic and Denominate and get into game number 2.
We are back into game G2 up against SK for what could be the final game of EU here. SK just so close to solidifying that first spot. G2 really want the points here, of course. They need those points to be able to challenge SK next week for the final EU slot. But it is all going down to next week as well. Denominate, you join me once again. How are you feeling coming into? Yeah, at the moment he's muted, and that would make a lot of sense. Maybe he was coughing again. Maybe he was having some cereal.
Definitely catching a little bit of a cold. Sorry about that.
That's okay, man. That's okay. It's okay to be sick.
No, it's not.
Don't do it. Don't do it when you're meant to be casting Denominate. Come on, you've got a show to put on.
Yeah, but I think coming into this game, I think the Rona and the Alpha coming out of SK is a incredible composition to try to deal with. The Rona is a hero that we've saw fall out of the meta actually for quite some time. With the relevance of Blackfeather in these heavy melee compositions, Rona has really started to shine, able to outduel Blackfeather in most scenarios. And we have a big fight started up here over this Treant. It's going to go over to G2.
SK still looking for the fight afterwards, though. Tyra's there in the front line. Dark Potato's down low. So's Hundor. They continue to chase in. Cavalify in the midst of the entire team. Dark Potato with a healing flask eventually goes down. Great triple Holy Nova, though, from Keanu. But still, Hundor gets jumped on by Cavalify. The Prime Directive, he's going to fall as well. 2 kills to SK. And all they had to do was give up a Treant.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a favorable trade-off for G2 there. Obviously, a kill apiece going on to Tyras and Cavalifar. I didn't miss who got the first blood, but, 2 kills, 400, 500 gold there at the beginning of the game in exchange for the 1 Treant. Definitely not worth. And the sustainability out of this composition out of SK, the Rona able to build up fortified health, the Alpha having that extra health bar as well as the termination protocol. When paired with an Arden that gives insane barriers in the late game, it is going to be very difficult for the side of G2 to pull anything off here. I don't think Dark Potato is going to be too effective on the Baptiste. Building time will tell. It's going to be about Hundor ramping up the breaking point stacks and getting as efficient trade-off as he can, trying to get those heavy executions when he can possibly do so. And obviously we got to look at Keanu Nakoa as well. The Holy Nova that can come out of Grace into a triple melee composition could give Hundor the time that he needs, as well as give a little edge to Dark Potato with the AoE damage that the Baptiste Bad Mojo can put out.
Speak about Alpha having to jump out of the fray there because of the Holy Nova. Hundor getting the extra damage in on this Blackfeather. It's an intriguing laning phase. We don't often see double melee in the lane, but Cavalify and Hundor are going to hit their wits against each other to start this off. Prime Directive used by Tyrus gets double damage off from that, and Hundor just about gets away because Keanu Nakoa lands an incredible Holy Nova once again.
Yeah, Keanu Nakoa on the Grace is, definitely a good pick into the composition that we have built up here. And it makes it very risky for Cavalifar to come in and use the Red Mist where he's going to be looking to hit multiple targets. Timed correctly, Keanu Nakoa can actually cancel that ability out, and it's going to prevent Cavalifar from building up second after second of fortified health. I believe it's 120 a second for, varying between like 2 and 4 seconds, depending on how much blood rage you have built up. So definitely can be a useful tool for Cavalifar to remain tanky in these fights. He's going towards that Serpent's Mask first, so looking for that heavy sustain that we know Rona oh so well for.
So easy for her to get into the midst of these fights as well. It's really only the Holy Nova and the Ordain that can block her from getting in there. Hundo, of course, can use that Rose Offensive to try and get away if needed. We'll have to see how effective he is on this Blackfeather. It's been a mixed day for Blackfeathers today. Hasn't always been the best pick after being very strong at the start of this update. Tyra's now level 6, looking for the engage onto Keanu Nakoa. Cavalifar, he's not at that level 6 mark yet, still about half a level away from it, but in comes the jump once again. Double Holy Nova. Hegman comes in a little bit later. Tyra's in the midst of this fight. Cavalifar feared back. Tyra's goes down into the infinite reboot, and they're going to try and take him out before he can respawn, but he manages to get back. Another double Holy Nova from Keanu. It's G2 do decide to back away right at the last moment. Can't quite take the fights that they want yet, but Dark Potato did a great job in that fight with the Ordain to lock Tyra's in a prison, make it so that SK could not get the engage that they wanted.
Well, especially since Tyras was not able to use his termination protocol in that last fight. He had the ability available, but because he got dropped so quickly, it prevented him from getting that ability off, and it's so useful into triple melee. Tyras taking a lot of damage in the jungle, gonna make it out safely thanks to Hegman with those barriers coming out of Arden, as well as he has that Protector's contract as well. So looking to get the Fountain online, there it is, and now Keanu Nakoa and Hegman are on a bit of even footing until Keanu Nakoa hits level 6 and gets that Divine Intervention.
Cavalifar has yet to back with all this extra gold. Expect to see the Serpent's Mask out first from him, but because Hundo had already finished his, he backs there. There's the Serpent's Mask and a Reflex block very early on here to try and probably dodge out that Holy Nova Keanu has been so effective at hitting.
Yeah, it's really easy when the enemies have to engage on you to, get their damage down. They're all constantly grouping up into the same situation or in the same position, and that's what makes it so influential for Keanu Nakoa to have picked up this Grace. And, if you're able to stun up the entire enemy team right into a Bad Mojo, into a Fearsome Shade, into the Rose offensive coming through, it's going to allow Hundor to stack up very quickly. Tyros is going in.
All in onto Hundor. There is the stun with the Holy Nova. Dark Potato's quite low. Cavalifar as well needs to try and get out of this because he's gone down so low, but the Fountain heals him up and the Red Mist as well. Hundor, Rose offensive's out. Another 3-man Holy Nova, and already Cavalifar's dead. G2 taking the fight they want. Tyros gets a trade, but it's a roam through Elena at the moment. Hundor having to get away towards the back of this fight, and Dark Potato without energy really can't do too much more. 1-for-1 trade once again as SK and G2 show us just why they are so even in Europe.
Yeah, both of these teams looking for points here. It's obviously SK up 1-0 in the series, and they are looking to close things out here and prevent G2 from getting any points at all. Dark Potato very low, but so is Tyra's, and not sure what that was, but here we go.
There is the gauntlet coming down. Not really going to do too much. Hegman unable to catch the G2 members that he wanted. Tyra's trying to retreat out of this. Cavalifar goes into the fray as he jumps on towards Hundor. Good divine intervention, heals Hundor back up. Tyra's jumps in, looking for the termination protocol, runs away. And then we'll just pop the infinite reboot. Keanu in with the benediction. Not going to get the Holy Nova off because it's still on cooldown. Oh, both these two teams are just, they're trying to find a way through the armor plating that the enemy team has, and both teams put up these walls and stop the enemy in their tracks. Keanu's done a great job with those Holy Novas. Hegman dodging around, getting the vanguards off when he needs to, and has that Fountain, of course, to help in the direst of situations.
Absolutely. Hegman probably going to have to look at getting a Crucible online here pretty soon. There's a lot of crowd control, actually, that G2 has available to them that is really their one benefit here. So, the desk was talking about it, we touched on it a little bit earlier. SK does have the better counter picks, but if you're not able to block up things like the Fearsome Shade and the Holy Nova, if enemies are allowed to control your positioning that heavily, it does allow Blackfeather to scale a little bit better into the Rona. Obviously, Rona's still a tough matchup for him, but any edge you can give Hundor, he's such a fantastic player, and he can really run away with things if you allow him to get favorable situations.
What are favorable situations for him at the moment? Because it seems like these two teams can't find a way into the enemy, can't find that engage that they really want. Maybe they're just waiting for item spikes as well. Cavalifar still only sitting on that first item. Tybers as well with the Aftershock and the Reflex. I've got the Crucible out from Hegman now, so a little bit more protection for his team. Still incredibly close. Actually looks like Keanu might be going for a very quick echo here to try and get extra divine interventions off in these fights.
Yeah, the circumstance that Hundor is going to be looking for, he now has the breaking point online, and this is where things start to change for him. If Keanu Nakoa and Dark Potato are able to lock up targets long enough and allow Hundor to get ahead in the breaking point stacks, he can come through and execute a target when they start getting low on health, and that's where Blackfeather can have a little bit of an edge, especially if Cavalifar gets stunned out of his Red Mist, which is going to be his key ability in looking to build up the breaking point stacks. Spitting onto a composition that requires all heroes to be fairly close. It allows Rona normally to build up breaking point faster than the Blackfeather, but alternatively, if the crowd control is used correctly out of G2 to prevent that Red Mist from getting its full effect, then Hundor will be able to outscale Cavalifar in the downtime.
G2 willing to play the waiting game, then just trying to get that scaling up on towards Hundor. SK, there's the infusion for Hundor. Level 9, Cavalifar has his own. Tyrus gets his Dragon's Eye completed as well, so he is now at 2 items, slightly ahead of Dark Potato. There's 2 kills and 4 extra CS. Doesn't always seem like the most, but can get you to these spikes ever so slightly quicker, which means they can look for a fight. And Hundor maybe slightly pushed up too far here. Prime Directive didn't hit from Tyrus, and Hundor was able to use a Rose offensive to get himself away. I think you can sense that both these two teams are very much used to each other. You know, they've consistently played against each other, and they have been the number 1 and number 2 seed for a while. Tyrus locked in with the Ordained Dark Potato. Takes a lot of damage though as Cavalifar spins up the Red Mist and tries to take down. The Divine Intervention comes out, but it's just not enough, and Hundor's the new target. The Fountain, but already we see the kill already going down onto Cavalifar, and now Tyrus pops the Termination Protocol to try and get Keanu out. Hegman has to try and protect his Alpha. Can he do enough? No, because Hundor is on a rampage, gets another kill for himself. Seeing onto Hegman here with the Rose offensive, looking for the dive, looking for the ace. They need it in 6 seconds. Hegman dodges to the side with the Blood Brawler, but it's a triple for Hundor, and G2 get the ace at 12 minutes in.
1, 2, 3, G2 take them down, and now they're going to go ahead and get a first turret, very likely off of this ace wave here, going to help Hundor and Keanu Nako take it down. Cavalifar is going to come in and contest, but it should be pretty easy for, obviously, Hundor to get out with that Red Mist. There's the stun, or Rose offensive, that Red Mist.
Cavalifar keeps going in, actually gets the into the frame, kills off Hundor, and now Keanu takes a Red Mist straight to the face and will fall as well. Cavalifar being like, Hundor, you can get a triple, I can get a double myself. And now SK can push towards this turret as well. G2 stayed around a little bit too long. See the bad mojo used by Dark Potato. Good fear there with the ultimate as well, as they will eventually take out the turret. The chase onto Dark Potato just forces him away. No ace for SK, but they do manage to get a turret of their own.
Yeah, they do. So it's SK answering quickly off of what G2 found there early on in the game. It's again, this composition is all going to be very back and forth gameplay, and that's what's been represented already. And either one of these teams definitely have what it takes to come out in the end. Hundor has the Metal Jacket complete. That's going to give him some more sustain against Cavalifar, who has built the Aegis first, trying to survive some of that poke that Dark Potato is able to put out, as well as giving himself a block where he can get out of the Ordain or possibly the Holy Nova.
Once again, these two teams so evenly balanced coming into the mid-game of this matchup. I say mid-game. Last one was 34 minutes long. This is still the early game for these two guys. Cavalifar settled in for the long haul. He's put on his pajamas and he's ready to play this game out throughout the course of the evening. Still so close, though, between the two of them. And now we'll see second items begin to be completed. Cavalifar has that breaking point. Now actually has the Atlas Pauldrons as well. Echo on Hegman, looking for those double gauntlets. That can be a game-changing moment. We saw how effective it was for G2 in the last matchup. Dark Potato landed some good bad mojos onto SK, though. They're building up those reap stacks. Does need to be so cautious when they approach these next couple of fights.
Yeah, both sides really have to be pretty careful here. Tyros has a lot of sustain, as well as now has completed the Dragon's Eye, and this is where Alpha's damage really starts to scale up. Dark Potato has the Clockwork and Shattered Glass complete, but is working into the Broken Myth as Hegman and Tyros are starting this fight up. Cavalifar's rotated down.
Three-man Holy Nova once again. Here comes the engage. The first gauntlet used. There's the Atlas Pauldron. Red Mist being procced up. The second gauntlet as well. Hundor jumps away. Dark Potato is the target. They need to take him down before he gets away, and they do manage to solidify the kill. 15 breaking point stacks on Cavalifar. 18 now. He's continuing to stack it up. The Prime Directive doesn't hit, but Cavalifar is on a rampage. Another kill going over to SK. They're looking for the ace. Rose offensive away will keep the ace from the hands of SK, but they get another kill. They get a sentry, and they can turn back and get the gold mine as well.
Yeah, Hundor making it out was amazing there. That would have been another turret for SK if they would have been able to find the ace. They are going to get the gold mine, though, and in this very even... Oh, they just pulled off before, because the Kraken was going to take it. I guess they determined they didn't have the damage to get it down before the 15-minute mark. I think it was worth committing to at least try, but... Anyway.
Sometimes you think, yeah, we might as well go back, might as well reset so that we don't get caught out. We saw G2 overstepping a little bit after winning a fight earlier on and giving 2 kills back to Cavalifar. So SK just playing the more patient game, which is something I think we come to expect from them.
Yeah, well, obviously they're in a situation where they want to make sure they give it their best. They want to shut down G2 here and prevent them from getting any more points. Again, next week will be the deciding week for both of these teams. They're neck and neck. And now an infusion picked up for Cavalifar. They're looking to get in here and get some aggression down and try to find a fight.
Can't do it for the moment. They just go back and clear out the wave. Having your minions pushing in is always very helpful, of course. Hundor steps on a scout trap, will be spotted out. There's the flare as well, but they don't know where Dark Potato is. That Fearsome Shade can do a lot of work in these fights. Everyone has that reflex block though. Aegis on Cavalifar and Tyrus. Here comes the jump in from Hundor. Cavalifar spins up the red mist in towards the midst of the team. Looking for the damage. There's the slow. The fear comes out as well. Cavalifar still alive, building up that fortified health, but Tyrus is low. Looking for the termination protocol as they all jump onto Hundor. Prime Directive doesn't connect. The Divine Intervention does. And Hundor has been healed up, almost back to full. Cavalifar stunned up with a Great Holy Nova, and he has fallen first. Now Tyrus tries to get onto Hundor, but I'm not sure he's going to have the damage. He's taken out, and G2 are looking for the ace. They should clean up SK here. They get the ace, and they can look towards pushing in these turrets as well. Maybe even taking a turret and a crack, and that looks like what they're going to do.
That looks like what they're going to do, and that's what they need to do. This game has been so crazy. SK finds a fight, G2 finds a fight, SK finds a fight, G2. At the 16-minute mark, though, that's the one of the worst times that you can lose out on a fight, especially when you get aced, because you have no ability to contest this Kraken that is getting taken by G2. And then obviously we saw Hundor go ahead and march up into the lane, take down that turret. So now G2 preparing themselves for a very heavy push. Dark Potato likely going to get a re-infusion here. He's actually sold off a heavy prism, and I'm not quite sure why yet. I guess we'll have to see when he shops again.
Yes. And he's got 2,000 gold as well.
Echo.
Oh, there we are. Echo. Double Fearsome Shade, double Ordained, double Bad Mojo. All of them effective, although I think Bad Mojo probably not as effective as the double Ordained or the double Fearsome Shade. SK on the back foot, 1,000 gold behind. It's not a substantial sum, but it's enough to have to deal with. Kraken is going to push in. This should be the turret falling. There is the Ordained coming out to lock SK in. Good gauntlet though, and Keanu gets locked up by that Dark Potato. They're good for a lock, but a 3-man Holy Nova once again, and Keanu is doing absolute work in these fights. Hundor tries to jump into the midst of them all. The Divine Intervention heals him up, and Hegman is the first target. Hundor gets the kill. SK running for the hills as they try and get back to the base, but they just don't get away from Hundor. He is unstoppable and indomitable and very impressive. G2 should be able to close out this game now, as it's only Tyrus on the defense, and they've got the Kraken as well. Tyrus trying to run away, but caught up in the Ordained, and once again, Keanu has just played so well this game. We're going to a game 3 to nominate. G2 are going to take down the Crystal. They'll take down SK as well. It's great play by them. 1-on-1 between G2 and SK in the final game here in EU.
Yeah, G2 doing a fantastic job forcing us into a game 3 here. They bring down the odds that we thought were in favor of SK, but Keanu Nakoa came out absolutely huge. It was triple Holy Nova after triple Holy Nova after triple Holy Nova, and that gave Hundor the time that he needed to scale up in the fights, come through with those big executes, and they're able to bring down Cavalifar early on the Rona, and then obviously turn their attention to the rest of SK thereafter. That was